And I was daydreaming. I was daydreaming all the time when I could.
It was probably the only, I suppose, one time where being in the present is not a thing that you want. So
No.
being in the future or the past is where the beauty actually lies. What would you
Yes.
think about?
Well, I was actually going home always in my head.
Yeah.
I was thinking, oh, so I knew my father was dead, and I knew, everybody was, most uncles and aunts and
Yes.
everybody. But I pretended they were all alive, and I
Yeah.
pretended that even my mother was alive, and I pretended we were in my house where my mother still, you know, lived, and then when we lived with everything, and that's why I remember it all, because I went through it and over it. That's where I went, and I went to school, and I saw my teacher,
Mm.
and I went through the classes that we were,
You had happiness there.
and I tried to not to be there,
Yes.
where I was. I couldn't, and then whenever.
Happiness was in your mind.
Yes, yes,
Mm.
yes. I needed it.
Yeah.
I didn't know what else to do, because there was no future in what I was doing.
No.
I don't know if I understood that.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure that I was all that clever. But that was my instinct. I did need to do it. I need to run away from there, and I didn't know how. Most probably, this was the only way I knew how.
In your mind.
And so my memories kept me going.
Was there kindness in the camps?
Well, with each other.
Yes. And what kind of kindness
With
did you
each
find?
other, we looked at. If it is true that if you were on your own, it didn't last very long. It was very scary, but when you were together, you sort of knew somebody
Yeah.
cared. So yes, we sat there, and we knew some people from the ghetto. So
Mm.
sometimes we managed very quietly to sort of say something, and the going thing was hold on. That's what that was.
Hold on.
Hold on.
Oh,
In Polish, yes, it was, but you had to whisper it because you couldn't move your mouth.
but you would
But,
whisper. It
but
makes me
you
want
would
to
whisper when
cry.
you passed. If you passed somebody, if you whispered, and you say, "Hold on," that was the. So it was something that you. It
It's so
it was you had
beautiful.
to do something. You did have to. You went. You see, it was in a way. I was just thinking always. It was them, and I don't know if everybody felt like I do. I don't know,
Yes.
because we didn't talk about how we
Mm.
felt. We knew what was going on, so there was no need to talk
Yes.
about it. But I always thought, I'm innocent. I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I didn't think like that. But I thought, they're the bad ones. They
Yes.
are the bad ones, and I'm different. And I just sort of
But what a
kept.
beautiful. Yeah.
We would, and I had hope. I was always thinking, when the
When the
war
war
ends.
ends.
I didn't think what's going to happen afterwards when the war ends.
Yeah.
That I didn't get there. I didn't want to. I sort of I went
Yes.
back, and then the only hope I had, when the war ends, and then sort of when the war ends,
And then
and then one day there was a selection, I went through many selections in Auschwitz III, and that was the kindness also. And I was with my
yeah.
three
So take us
cousins
through
and
that.
another friend, another two people from the ghetto that we knew. They always kept me in the middle because I
Yes.
was the short one, and they always kept me in the middle. And when there was a selection, sometimes you had to go around a field or something. They walked like that so they wouldn't notice me, sort of in the
Yes.
middle. But mainly you had to stand there. In Auschwitz, it was naked, stark naked.
Yeah.
You had to stand in fives, and the girls that were already much more. I was lucky. I wasn't developed at all. I was a
Yes.
child looking, and that's why they always worried about me, because
Yes. Looked a
I
lot
wasn't
younger.
supposed to be there in the first
Yes.
place. I suppose in
Yes.
the way that the Germans saw it. So one day there was a selection, and a few times we saw it, and there was a woman that we called the angel of death, and her name was Greise. She
Mm.
was a young woman. She was sadist. She was walking around with this big, white gloves and a white blouse and blonde with a white
Baton.
but that
Yeah.
she hit people with. And when I saw her at that selection, and there was also another man with her,
Mm.
another SS man, and I thought, oh, this is the end of my life. That I was thinking then.
Yeah.
I thought, no, I don't think I'll make that because it was,
Mm.
in your face. We stood sort of
You stood in a line
in
in
a
front of
line in
him.
front, and and there was a line behind us and a line in front of us. When it came to my line, he looked in each one of us, and when he came to me in the middle, his head went down because I was short. And he said to me, and there was this man, and I was grateful in a way that the woman wasn't.
Yes. What did he say to you?
And he looked and he said to me, "How old are you?" And I decided there before that, and I said it to the girls, I'm going to say I'm 17.
How old,
I was 13.
and if you were to not live, how old did you need to be for them to put you?
I needed to be 12,
Yes.
not 2. But I was 14, but I
You
looked
look
at
so young.
I looked a few years younger than I was. I was very
Yes.
very young looking.
Yeah. And so you said
And
you were
so
17.
and I was, as I said, all the women were, sort of developed and all this, and I wasn't. I was just flat.
Yeah.
And he says, "How old are you?" And I said nothing to lose. I said 17.
Mm.
She would have hit me to death.
Yes.
But he just looked at me for a second, and then he took his hand and he just touched my
Pushed your chin.
chin, and he said, "But child, you are not 17." And I said, "Well, I can't, So I said, "No, I'm not." But I said, "I'm 14," and I was like very shy, And I said, "I'm 14, but I want to stay with my sisters." And he says, "Who are your sisters?" And I pointed them out. And he says, "All right, so go back to the block." And he sent me back into the barrack. And he was must have been a nice man, or that was his first day on the job and he didn't know.
Yeah.
Whatever, I am
It was another
grateful to
miracle.
him.
It was another miracle.
This was the miracle. That was the miracle. One of the miracles, really. I went
Yeah.
through miracles a lot. And the other two, one was an older lady and one was young, like my cousin. And she said, and I'm her cousin, and she said, I'm her aunt. So she said, "Well, you go too." So everybody got
Yes.
saved that time.
It's amazing.
Because of me and this man. But yes, it was very that I really that was the biggest miracle. It I was sure that was the end of my life. That was the end of it.
And after, I mean, you came near death so many times, but after that, how did you feel?
I felt happy that I didn't, but there was we didn't know how many more selections there are going to
Yes.
be. So, but this time it was,
You were
in Auschwitz or anywhere, like, you live a day at a time. You
Yes.
don't worry about tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't even know what's going to happen in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like whether there is going to be a selection 5 minutes, or whether you're going to go to the bath, or whether whatever.
Yeah.
You just lived a day or at a time, mainly from meal to meal. You came alive when you got something to eat, and then it was the end of it, because there wasn't very much to eat, and that was that.
And then April 16th, 1945 was the day that you were liberated.
Yes,
And that was
another miracle.
another miracle. There's a beautiful poem that you actually wrote in your book that I would love you
Yes.
to read.
Okay. Yes. It's called Liberation. Exultant, I'm running blindly through unfamiliar streets. My jailers have fled. I'm a bird uncaged, rejoicing in my freedom. My spirit is soaring. My wings unfold. I'm assailed by overwhelming emotions. I am. Euphoria lifts me off the ground. I float, I leap, I fly. My soul is singing, a song long lost in sadness and sorrow, bursts from the depths of my being. Yet not a sound comes forth. Ecstatic I run, faster and faster, to the rhythm of my soundless singing. Frenzied I run, propelled towards the welcome sound of approaching tanks. With hearts pounding and heads spinning, what exhilaration, what joy there will be tomorrow. It was April 16, 1945. Bless the Americans. We were liberated. We were free. I was 15 years old.
Wow.